Hello, wealthy women. I am so excited to bring you another inspiring interview. Today, I have the privilege of sharing with you a beautiful woman with a mission that is so big. Your heart will be full after hearing what she has to share. So, all I can say right now is listen, this is really one of the more important interviews that I will do because the work that she's doing, it's beyond important. It's everything. It's basically everything. So without further ado, let me pass over the mic and please go ahead and share all about your work and who you are, where people can find you to work with you and all that good stuff.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Tamara. I am so happy to be here with you. I'm Jen Canobbio. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of California. I've been working with youth and families in a variety of capacities really since I was a teenager myself. And in my role as a licensed clinical social worker, I have spent most of my career working with trauma, complex trauma, early childhood abuse, kids in the foster care system. And that has evolved into the last 10 years of me in private practice. About 20 years ago, I was contracting with a very large, affluent, high intensity academic performance school district in California. And while I was there working with high risk youth, we experienced a suicide cluster in the district. It was a very traumatic time. It lasted for about a year. I spent a lot of time assessing, intervening, safety planning, and I still get emotional. Sorry, I lost one of my students. She died by suicide. And at that point, I was really on my soapbox. I was on a mission to help people stop blaming the academic rigor for this crisis, because that was really just a final straw. The issue was the fact that our children from a young age are not getting strong social emotional learning curriculum in school, right? We do our best as parents, but people have their own stuff, right? So we're not actually teaching skills on emotional regulation, on conflict resolution, on how to develop friendships, right? How to develop a growth mindset. This stuff is talked about more in schools, which is fabulous, but there is not a strong curriculum. So by the time they're adolescents and undergoing all of these changes, all of these stressors, not understanding what's happening to them, those additional stressors are too much, right? They don't have the resiliency to make it through. So that experience, coupled with a whole lot of other experiences working with these youth, watching teens in private practice, right? I thought, oh, well, I'm not serving the foster care system anymore, right? These are middle class, upper middle class youth parents are bringing in. And what I was seeing is even not experiencing early childhood abuse, they still lacked all of these very necessary skills. And as they were in adolescence, were making incredibly dangerous, short-sighted, right, decisions that were putting them in harm's way and causing trauma. So all of that, right, in me trying to spread my message, then you get us to the pandemic, right? Over the last decade, we're watching a significant rise of mental illness in adolescents, right, really, which is as young as 10 and as old as mid-20s. And that's where we're seeing all of these scary numbers. 60% of American girls reported having suicidal thoughts in the last year.
Wow.
In a study that came out about a year and a half ago. And honestly, I wasn't shocked by that number. I actually think that number's on the low side. I think that's just the girls who admitted it, right? So everybody talked about the dangers during the pandemic, which is true, right? All that isolation, all that additional screen time, right? All of those developmental milestones that were really put on pause. But what I really saw kids struggling was returning to real life, right? They didn't have that self-assuredness, right? Here had been this big disruption in their emotional growth. And I was watching them struggle, right? And through all of this, I'm turning people away in my private practice, right? We've got a shortage of therapists. And so all of this culminated to the fact that not every youth needs therapy. Can they benefit? Sure, on a therapist first, right? Everybody can benefit at some point in their life from that self discovery. We've all got little things that we can heal from. But the reality is, we need to do something more proactive. So, if I can teach all of these skills to my therapy clients to reinforce their growth and their healing process, I just sort of had this epiphany that I need to reach more girls. I need to broaden, who hears me on my soapbox. And rather than tell people what to do, I needed to just do it. Okay, so out of that came my teen toolbox for girls, right? Because I think every teen, and at some point there'll be one for boys too, but because girls are the ones reporting the most crisis, I started there and really just took all of these skills, right, that aren't actual therapy, they just support therapy, and encapsulated them into this big toolbox because every adolescent needs one. We've got all these stereotypes and myths about what the teen years are. I remember when I became a mom, and by the way, I have twin teens in myself, so I totally get what the challenges are, right? It's not that it's an easy period, but it is actually a super important developmental stage that gets overlooked, under-supported, because it's hard. Right? Parents are really mourning the cuddly years, right? The years where their kids are maybe a little more compliant, that just take what they say at face value. They feel important to their kids, right? They're still always important to their kids, but developmentally, kids are needing to separate. They're needing to identify their own values. They tend to align with the ones that their parents have taught them, but they need to know it for themselves, right? They're needing to seek out novelty. They're needing to really utilize their creativity to seek out opportunities, right? And that social brain is really in charge. So all of these things can create conflict. All of these things can lead teens to making impulsive decisions, right? So I've never met a teen that doesn't want to do well. I've never met a teen that doesn't want their parents to be proud of them, right? I've never met a teen that doesn't really want to have a wonderful relationship with their parents, to feel successful academically, right? But they don't have the tools. So I have created this whole toolbox and teach them how to use them, right? I don't just hand it off to them and say good luck, right? I take 12 weeks to really teach them all of these things so that they start to feel comfortable and master it. And I do twice weekly live coaching. I provide the coaching in a group atmosphere with the teens because they learn better from each other. Right? Yeah. But obviously, I'm not going to just send them off into the wild. I'm there to support it and to guide it because I believe that we can create a new generation where we start to change that narrative on what adolescent years are like. When I became a mom, everybody's like, oh, good luck when years are teens, because I was working with teens. Oh, just you wait. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that my kids are perfect, and I'm not saying that we haven't hit bumps in the road, but I was able to help my kids. Well, we're still in process, right? But to let them, the old adage of roots and wings, right? It's our job to make sure that they have strong roots so that they can safely spread their wings. They can learn from mistakes rather than have mistakes be devastating, right? They can be connected to us so that they have the opportunity to come to us when there is a problem. But we first have to give them the opportunity to figure it out on their own. So, and as part of that mission, I provide free trainings and resources to parents because I want them to understand what's happening. I want to break down those myths. I want to help parents not personalize when their daughter needs to go to their room to self-regulate and to have some space before they can come back and have that conversation.
The work that you're doing is so meaningful and important and impactful. And it is really shocking to hear the numbers that you just shared, that percentage. I had no idea. It is. And I love that there is you in this, in and your mission to help and change, like you said, that whole narrative. And also to kind of what you were leaning towards, educate the parents that they don't take certain things personally. They just allow their child to grow and be ready to have those conversations when they feel comfortable. So there's a respect for both sides. The parent also respects the child and vice versa. And you can do so much. And I just love that you put this resource together and all of the coaching that goes with it, because they need help navigating this, right? And the parents need help to understand it. So it's really a full embodiment of making a new way to go forward with life skills that will not only serve them for the rest of their lives, but also their children and then their children's children. And so basically, you're servicing to make a new generational impact, that it should not be like this is currently what is happening, what you're seeing, that you're in the trenches, so you see this, you're aware of what's happening. And I think that you getting that message out there to make other people aware, it's a sad and shocking number, but at the same time,
but it doesn't have to stay like that, right? It's
right,
hard. And that's
exactly,
why
but
I
having,
developed the coaching program, because, I
yeah,
mean, I'm not going to lie. As a therapist, my license limits me. It limits me on how many people I can help. It limits me on where those people have to live for me to help them.
yeah,
And to take the skills, right, out of the therapy room. And because honestly, this stuff should be taught in schools. It doesn't have to be taught by licensed therapists. That's just an added bonus that I have so much training and experience and education, right? That I understand the science behind it, right? Because it really is an art and a science. It's an art to draw them in, to connect with them. And I'm not going to lie, I'm always embarrassed saying this, but for years, and it was funny because independent of each other, right? But in different roles that I played, my colleagues and the parents that I work with alike would call me the teen whisperer, because I would always get the most incorrigible teens, right? That other people were like, this kid's impossible. And I could engage them. I could connect with them. They finally felt heard and seen and understood. And as a result, we could break down some of those defensive walls so that they could actually engage and learn, right? And that's what our youth need. Parents take it personally that their kids will listen to me. I met with a couple of parents just the other day, and they're like, oh, my daughter's just started working with you, but you have a new best friend, right? She's your biggest fan. And they just went on and on about everything that their daughter had to say. And I sense that maybe there was just a little bit of a tone, right, from the mom, that it's kind of like, why couldn't I have that impact, right? And I just assured her, it's because I'm not her mom. Right?
yeah.
Kids can hear me differently because they're not trying to pull away from me, right? They're not trying to look at things through a new lens in our relationship, right? I am that novelty. So, and full disclosure, right? I proactively found people for my kids to have similar kind of mentorship from, because I knew that they needed that to stay grounded and connected in our relationship, right? My daughter was like, can I do this program? And because she's experienced, the whole mean girl phenomenon at school. And I said, honey, you absolutely have access to all of that information, but it's all stuff you already hear from me. But I need you to hear it from somebody else. I need you to see it from somebody else's viewpoint, right? I need you to broaden, that your input, to really integrate that into what it means to you and what that's going to look like. She's like, okay.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of it is really about that validation. Once someone feels heard and validated, they feel safe, and that kind of creates the opening for dialogue to happen. And then, when you have your skill set, when that dialogue does start to happen, and how to, work with the teen and also the parents. I just think it's amazing. Before we get off into the success questions, though, I just please share your website address so people can reach out to you, because this is such important work and I really want them to know how to find you.
Thank you. It is jencanobbiocoaching.com. And I would say that's really easy because it's just my name, but nobody can ever spell my name. Um, so it's JenCanobbio coaching.com. And same on social media, right? If you just type in Jen Canobbio coaching, you'll find me.
That's perfect.
And
of
I'm
course,
always trying to provide educational things. Levity for parents, right? I realize that it's more parents that are finding me on social media than their teens. Although I have had quite a few teens start to follow me on Instagram and TikTok. So that always
perfect.
pleases me. But and I think that they appreciate that I'm putting this messaging out to their parents too.
Yeah.
The reality
Yes,
is
exactly.
they're gonna listen to other people anyway. So parents really get to choose. Are you gonna let the blind lead the blind and have them be influenced just by their peers in social media or the Kardashians in reality shows? Or are you actually gonna try and find resources that you can vet that are gonna provide them healthy information and mentoring and support?
I love that.
I just will choose the latter.
Yes,
It's not me. Vet and find somebody for your parents, your kids.
Exactly. It is. This is where it all starts, right? You know, you want to have the best for your children, and the children want to have the best also. So it just takes that proper education and guidance. So, okay, so we're going to get into some success questions. And of course, I will have all of the links where you can find Jen and her work. But if you were happening to listen on a podcast and you just wanted to hear the link, now you know where to find her. So, okay, so we want to go into a little bit of success questions just about, you know, the starting of your business, especially transitioning how you did into, you know, your own coaching and, you know, getting your message out there. So this is basically, you know, your answers will inspire others. They're building their businesses or
they can learn from all my mistakes.
Yeah, no, your successes and all the good things. So, okay, so the first question
Success comes out of mistakes, right?
Absolutely. I always, one of my favorite quotes was fail forward. You have to, if you're not failing, you're not even trying. So that's a big, then you're not doing it.
I tell my clients all the time, we need a different word in the English language for the way that failure gets used, because failure is learning opportunity, right? It's just merely feedback. The only time we truly fail is when we
don't try. Exactly. I agree with you. Yes, words are so strong and impactful. So we really do have to be careful on the way we choose the words. So, okay, so I think we understand the why, the passion behind your business. It's such a big vision and it's everything. Like I just don't even know how to put it into words how important it is that the work of the work that you're doing. So it's just everything. I mean, children, you birth them into the world. Of course, you want everything fabulous for them, and you are helping to make them have a more fabulous life experience. And so, like I said, it's everything. I don't even know how to put better words to it. So, okay, so here's the thing. In a general business style sense, if you could choose one answer of how building your online business has enriched your life and has empowered you, what would that answer be? And why would you recommend that another should consider building their own business for the same reason? Or, I mean, for a reason.
I'm not sure if this fully answers your question, but you know, the pandemic, as tragic as it's been, as painful as it's been, really, I'm also a firm believer in finding the gifts in any crisis.
Yeah.
Right? And one of those gifts was really shifting how we connect, how we reach. Right? There's a downside to how much screen time we spend and how impersonal it can get. But I've truly felt empowered to be able to have such a far-reaching. One of the first parents when I first launched this to reach out to me was in Sweden. I was like, oh, wow. It didn't even occur to me that I would have such a far reach, right? The power of the internet, the power of social media. I was somebody who didn't really spend any time on social media, right? I thought it just a time sucker, and it can be for sure if we're not mindful. But it really never occurred to me how many people I could impact with a single post. To me, that's still mind boggling, and it's so empowering to me. And all it makes me want to do is continue to refine what that message is to have even greater impact, right? To stop that scroll, so to speak. Because while I try to use humor, while I try to make things relatable, to me, there's nothing more important than this. This is the most critical and extensive developmental stage as humans we go through.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity to build them up and to tap into all of that potential to developing superpowers that go out and change the world. Or we let them struggle, right? And just try to survive it. And then we set them up to continue to do that into adulthood.
Yeah,
So
and
that's
pass it on.
so empowering that the internet has provided me with the opportunity to try and create more superheroes.
I love that answer. That's fantastic. And I think this resonates with most women business owners because I feel that many of us are just building businesses from a real sense of passion and purpose and soulfulness. And when it's coming from such a pure place with the intention to help and serve and to know that you have that platform and that you can make that difference. And this kind of leads me to another thing sometimes, and you could maybe even speak to this because it's one of the questions anyway. A lot of times women will have these beautiful businesses, but they're afraid to get out there and share their message, to have that voice and visibility. And I have really come to for me, a simple thing that I'll pretty much say to them and when we do coaching or in general. I'll say your message, your mission is so important and can help so many that it's not about you. You're a vessel, you're a voice, and you have sort of an obligation, a God-given talent and purpose to serve. And so for you to hide behind a little bit of discomfort or insecurity, you have to get over it because you're meant to serve and people need you. And if you don't show up because of a little fear, just think of how many people that will not get your message and be changed for the better. I think that is the easiest and best motivating way to get over fear. But we all go through it. When we first get on the internet, being visible is quite a little bit confusing and challenging and weird and all the things. And so,
That
right?
honestly, Tamara, has been my biggest challenge, right? I have never had to market myself. I don't even have a website for my therapy business. I'm always full. I'm always turning people away. It's word of mouth. I mean, there are platforms like Psychology Today, whatever, people find me there. But when I went into private practice, I was like, I don't know how to do this. I've never worked for myself, been a sole proprietor. I guess I'll figure it out. And in like 8 or 9 weeks, I had a full practice. I don't know how it happened, right? If you build it, they will come. So I kind of thought I would have a similar experience transitioning into coaching. I did not. So all of a sudden I realized I'm not just quietly holding space in a room for somebody. I'm putting myself out in front of the world so that people hear my message and understand why they should listen to me, right? And I'm trying to reach more girls. But that means more people have to hear me. So that really has been my biggest challenge, to want to feel like I can do that in an authentic way. I don't ever want to come across as salesy. I don't want to sell myself. People aren't buying me and my service. They're investing in their daughter's future, and finding a way to create that message and to feel brave enough to put myself out there in front of the world has really been my biggest challenge.
I love it. I love what you just said. They're investing in their daughter. I mean, that is everything. When you have a beautiful business with a soulful purpose and it's clean, you just know, then it is an investment. it's not about selling or your product. It becomes about the transformation you can offer to somebody because they had the luck of your paths crossing, right? So though you had that insecurity, how did you just kind of get over it? Because a lot of women, we all struggle with it still. So was it just a matter of doing it over and over and getting more comfortable? Do you do a little meditation before you go, like say on a Facebook Live or Instagram Live, or how do you prep for that?
So I'm not going to lie, it's still hard for me. I can't say that I've been at this long enough that I just am totally over it. It is most certainly about grounding myself in my mindset, right? It's about reminding myself of my why.
Yeah.
It's about catching whatever those negative thoughts are, right? Do I care if somebody judges me because I lose my train of thought? No, right? That's being human, right? So honestly, and I tell this to my clients, both in coaching and in therapy, um, I walk the walk, right? I do I utilize all the tools myself. So it is about checking myself. It is about a little bit of meditation and mindset work before I walk into it. And there have been periods where there's more going on in my life, and I find that courage to push through the discomfort is harder, right? And so I'll notice, oh, I haven't done a live in a while. I haven't done a reel in a while, right? And it's like, okay, check why, what's holding me back, right? And if it's that discomfort, that's pretty much that cue that I'm on the right track because I have to grow beyond that therapy room in order for this to be successful and accomplish my mission.
I love that. I love that. Women, did you hear this? She said, when she feels the discomfort, she knows she's on the right track. So that's a really good clue because you're stretching, you're growing, and you always will in your business. There will always be something, and there always should be something that's pulling and stretching and feeling uncomfortable. I think sometimes we just think we'll eventually arrive. Arrive where? It's an
Never.
ongoing process, and there's always going to be things to learn. And that's the fun of it. I'm sure we can all recall times when we were so excited about a goal and everything we were doing to achieve it. And then we achieved the goal and this was really great. But then it was like, okay. And like, now what? Yeah, what's next? And that's the whole thing of life is you're never meant to fully arrive. You're
Well,
just
if you
supposed
look
to
at nature,
travel.
what happens in nature when a plant, a tree, something stops growing? It dies, right?
Right.
We are as humans meant to constantly be growing and learning and doing, right? And
Yes.
part of that is, um, I do believe that this is my calling. I don't believe it's a career. It is my calling. But even for my atheist clients, right? You don't have to believe in God or higher being or anything to understand that as humans, we are hardwired to need connection. And in part of that connection is a sense of service and purpose, right?
Yes,
Which is
absolutely.
beyond ourselves.
Absolutely. I love this. I love this. And then I'm going to follow up with another question then here is sometimes women struggle. What is my soul's purpose? What is my mission? I know this job that I have, it's a job. It gives me money. I can pay my bills. I get why that's important, but there's something more and I don't know how to figure it out. What is it? Do you have any advice for a woman that, isn't 100% sure how to get her direction in life? What would you suggest to her?
Whether it's coaching or Reiki or therapy, to find somebody to help guide her, to understand how to delve into a little more of an internal exploration, because the answer is always there, right? In therapy, my clients will ask me questions. And I hate to do like the stereotypical therapist thing, but I always return the question to them because I don't have the answer. I have the skills to help them find the answer,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes it means trying things on and say, yeah, I enjoyed that, but that's not really my passion. Or, wow, I never even considered this, but this I feel passionate about. And wow, that's an outlet to explore, right? Because when sometimes we don't know where a path is going to lead us. And sometimes as we head down that path, we realize sometimes quickly, sometimes it takes a little while to realize, I don't think this is the path I want to be on anymore. This path isn't leading me in a direction that's feeling good to me or feeling useful to me. But I wouldn't know that if I hadn't started down that path. And guess what? Now I can choose to take the fork in the road down this path because I think what's down there might feel more promising. But the fact is, we don't learn any of that without actually creating the movement.
I love what you just said because I also think sometimes we get hung up on the idea that we have to choose something, one thing, and that's what we have to do for the rest of our lives or a very large portion of our lives. And I love, there's been a movement going on for many years already, where it started as you have the one corporate job, so to speak, for the rest of your life, you retire, get the watch. And then all of a sudden we saw like the kind of breakdown of being able to rely on, I'm speaking in America, like corporate America, the job security changed when, the economics of the climate changed. And all of a sudden people were starting to wake up and realize they really kind of need to count on themselves and all the things. And it all has added up to people being allowed now to try on different jobs for a couple of years until they find out what fits for them. And you'll hear women,
right?
Say again?
I said, and have more than one, right? We don't have to
Yes,
limit ourselves to a single role and a single job. I am a
exactly.
mom, which is a full-time job with two teenagers, right? Because they don't need us less. Parents, whoever parents are listening, moms, don't fall into that. They're older and more independent. They don't need us. They need us more. They just need us differently.
Yes.
But
Well said.
I'm a psychotherapist, right? I am an empowerment coach for teens. I'm an antique dealer, right? And I provide professional consulting, right? And if I stop to think about it, I probably have other things. But 4 of those 5 jobs, they're careers, right? They're all legitimate. And I don't know where I find enough hours in the day to do all of these things, but I do. But we don't have to be one thing anymore.
So multi-passionate is what is totally fabulous, and go for it. Do what makes your heart sing, right? Absolutely. I love it. So I had a question for you. I always like to ask about wealthy woman habits, as I call them, because I'm a firm believer that when you act in a wealthy woman kind of way, and that doesn't have everything to do with money. It's little
Right.
things, the way you set boundaries, the way you do self-care, the way you carve out time for yourself. I'm a big believer in that because it strengthens your muscle to show yourself self-love, self-respect. And then that is empowering to you, and you start to expand your vision and know that you can do and be more of what you want to be. So what are some of your wealthy woman habits, as I like to call them, or wealthy woman ways that, like, for example, morning routine? Do you have any set things that you do every single day that, you just feel a little off if you don't do it?
I start every morning with meditation. How long I meditate, that depends. Because I will say, I think working with teens for so long, it has adjusted my sleep cycle. So I am not a morning person. But I start out every morning before I even get out of bed with meditation. I start every day and I encourage my clients before their feet even touch the ground, what's your intention for the day?
Oh, I like
It
it.
doesn't have to mean my to-do list, right? I'm going to approach my day with confidence and focus, right? With compassion, right? I am going to touch as many lives today as I can, but I'm going to set my intention before my feet even hit the floor. And that helps give my day purpose and focus. And that helps me from going down all of the potential rabbit holes of, distraction, right? I still get distracted, but it's a lot easier for me to bring myself back into notice when I
I
have.
love it. Yeah. Meditation is so important. It's really grounding. Any other tips that you have for, like, good success habits
um,
and
I,
setting the intentions?
yeah, I, many years ago realized when actually, it was when I was preparing to sit for my licensing exam, because that was a really big deal and a long road to get to. And I had a mentor say, you need to schedule your time to study. It doesn't matter if it's 30 minutes or 3 hours. If you don't schedule that time, you won't do it. And I realized that's exactly what happened, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to approach my day and I'm going to study for X number of hours today. And the dishes would need to get done. And, you know, it was like, oh, squirrel, right? Because my
Yeah.
brain wanted to do anything else.
Mhm.
But if I prioritize scheduling that time, I mean, I schedule this time with you. I schedule time with my clients. I schedule time to go to the doctor, right? We schedule time with, and respect other people. Why are we not doing that for ourselves? So I accomplish so much more in the day when I literally schedule in and put on my calendar for that self time, because that affects my mindset to prioritize it. Sometimes things in life require me to reschedule just like it would any other appointment. But that's just it. I actually reschedule it, right? I don't just, you know,
Forget about
hit
it.
snooze or dismiss that reminder on my phone, right? I actually stop and say, okay, then where do I put this in? So I break it in various forms of self-care, right? Physical, mental, emotional throughout the day, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, to make sure that I'm meeting my needs. And one habit that was lacking for a long time was eating early in the day, right? I'd get busy and often it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm like, oh, I haven't eaten anything today, right? I've had my water, but I haven't eaten. It's not healthy, right? I'm not going to work on all cylinders. So I've worked to find a way to eat high protein, low carb, right? Because I also have some health issues, so I try to eat as anti-inflammatory as I can. And to do that early in the day and to again create that routine that I'm eating regularly throughout the day, even in small amounts, because that helps keep me focused. That helps keep me my energy more stable, so that I can accomplish all of this stuff, in a 27-hour day.
I love everything that you just said. So I just want to go over this so everyone hears, because these were great tips. So, one, meditation. Two, set your intention. Love that. And then three, schedule in yourself in all the ways that are about your self-care, physical, emotional, soulful, spiritual, whatever it is. And it's funny, one of my I have coaching, of course. I always recommend coaching for everybody. One of my coaches, she says she schedules in everything, and then she's very firm, for example, on her boundaries, because also it's very easy for us online business women owners to never turn off the computer or always be available. And so I also think creating those strong boundaries where you're finished at a certain time, close the laptop, have your family time or your self time, really important. So I love everything that you just said. It's real. And yeah, the intention one is such a big deal too, because that's kind of, also connected to your big why, your intention for the day. Every day, every day, every day equals what your big why is about and helps you achieve that main mission that you have in your life, right? So,
I
and
will
then
say
I guess,
I have very strong boundaries,
yeah,
much to some people's chagrin. But I will say that my boundaries are incredibly flexible. So while in general, I would tell people, what is your end of day? And that's what you need to hold. Given that I've worked with high risk youth for so many years, I have learned how to have flexible boundaries to still maintain my family time, my personal time, and be available to my clients. And for my coaching clients, I offer that as well, right? Because life doesn't always happen, right? And the stuff that they're needing can't always wait until our next session. So
yeah,
I do my best to be available to my clients, but that doesn't mean I'm not prioritizing, when I'm having time with my kids, right? I'm not on my phone. And I do let my clients know, if you don't hear from me right away, it's merely because my family, right? And my personal needs also have to be balanced in there. So I set that intention with my clients up front, and they don't freak out or feel ignored when I don't respond right away. And I think they're usually surprised at how often they get a response within about 10 or 15 minutes.
No, I like that you said that because it really does make sense also for the field of work that you're in. So there are those fields where that flexibility of boundaries is much more important than just being, 100%
In general,
rigid
I would
about it.
encourage
Yeah.
that for people. That just doesn't
Yes.
really work with what I do or
I get
who I
that. I get that. Yeah. Thank God. Thank goodness. Right. Because there are definitely professions and works that people are doing that require that availability. So I'm glad that you actually mentioned that. It really does depend on, if it comes to someone maybe that's a social media manager and a client is, calling at 9 about a post, that something like that
That's
can
not really a
wait,
priority.
but that's a whole different thing. So good that you pointed that out. And then for our final question, I wanted to ask you a day in the life of a successful day for you. What does that look like? What does a successful day in your life look like?
Not any one thing. I have a lot of successful days that look very different. Sometimes a successful day is I don't hear from any of my clients because everybody's doing well and using all of their tools. And I just go out and have some fun, right? Whether that's with, my mom tribe or with my kids. Sometimes I get alone time. Wow, I got 2 hours of alone time today, right?
Yeah.
To binge watch, Ted Lasso or Schitt's Creek, right? My favorite shows.
Yeah.
Sometimes it means, wow, I have managed to working on all cylinders and keep my energy level up. And I've put out 3 crises and done 8 coaching and therapy sessions and, managed to get 3 posts for tomorrow done. And, I'm tired, but it's that good kind of like after a good workout kind of a thing, right? Where it's like, wow, I just had a 15-hour day, but I feel energized because I feel so accomplished.
Yes,
So
yes.
it really ranges.
It ranges. That's great. I love this. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing this time with me,
Thank you.
for blessing so many families with such important work that yeah, I just wish you the most expansive reach that is possible because you are doing magical work in this world and you're so needed and your mission is so beautiful. So it's everything. So before we sign off, just go ahead and share your website link again, maybe spell it out one more time and then yeah, so go ahead.
JenCanobbio coaching.com. Jen
Love it.
Canobbio coaching. Even if you most people want to spell it with 2 N's and 1 B. If you type that in, you'll probably still find me, but it's 1 N and 2 B's. I tell my husband's family that they spelled it wrong when they came to America.
I know you like I just go by Coach Tamara because try and say or spell my last name and then my husband, with my husband's name, oh my goodness, it's just a mess. So I'm just like Coach Tamara here. So
Yeah,
anyway,
it's
I just
actually
want to say
a joke that a lot of people will say. I will call myself just Jen, just Jen,
just
and they're
Jen.
like, "Really? That's it,
That's
just Jen?"
cute.
You'll know. So that
You'll
became sort of a thing.
I love it. Well, I just want to thank you so much for sharing this beautiful
Thank you
message
for sharing your time with me.
and I told you ladies this was going to be very, very important interview. So please share also. Enjoy and resonate with this interview. Reach out to Jen, but also share this with your folks, your people, your tribe, because this is a message that needs to be shared everywhere. We need to help our youth, our teens navigate. They need help. And
Can I say one more thing on that?
yes, please, absolutely.
The biggest challenge is parents always think it's just a phase. They just think if we just make it through this, right? And sometimes that is the case, but kids are limping along. They're just surviving. And there is so much rapid brain development happening that we want what gets hardwired in their brain to be healthy, to leave them feeling effective. not limping along, or waiting a year or two of asking their parents to find them a therapist. This is what I encounter on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Being proactive, not assuming, and recognizing, yeah, this is a stage. It is a very long, very important developmental stage, that it isn't something to just get through. So the more proactive we are, the healthier and more successful our kids are.
I love that. Proactive, preventative. Let's get in there before. Let's set it proper. Set the stage for success. Basically, that's what and you have to have the skills to do that. And that's why you need to get in touch with Jen. She will guide you. All right. Well, wealthy women, I just want to say thank you so much for spending time with us and soaking in all this wise wisdom and, getting in your heart space about how important this message is. And then until the next time, I will see you again. So you keep going for your dreams, because your dreams are here to not only serve you and make you a happier, more fulfilled person, but you have a mission to help others. However your business model is, every business model is about serving others and bringing benefits to others. So do your best and pat yourself on the back for all the good that you are doing in this world, and just keep going forward. So until next time, see you later.